Hello everyone, welcome to a special episode of this D&D Q&A podcast. I'm Ethan and I'm acting as your host for today. I'm joined by some very dear friends, my two dungeon masters from 3 campaigns that I'm currently engaged in. Before we jump in, it's worth mentioning that both of these guys are players in each other's campaigns. And without further ado, please introduce yourselves and the campaign that each of you are running.
Hi, so I'm Luke and I'm running 2 campaigns in my world of Mandrium where Ethan and Haydyn are both players in the continent of Oriole, which is a place where magic thrives and is overall pretty good.
Nice, yeah. And Liberty dies. I get it.
Hi, I'm Haydyn, and I run kind of the opposite to that, which is a kind of Eastern European swampland, kind of bleak little continent called Godov, and there's not a lot of magic, and people kind of suffer, generally speaking. Yeah.
All right, suffering. Fantastic. That being said, let's get to the questions. Start with this. What's your favourite part about acting as a dungeon master? What keeps you coming back every week?
So, in my world, I like, obviously, the world building and building the historical lore of the world where it comes to the gods and different deities and how they battled and how that affects the present day. And then how that has shaped the world with the inner and the outer planes as it is. And different artifacts that are spread across the land, their stories. Yep, on to you.
I'm a big fan of DMing because I like being able to put my players into very, uncomfortable situations and see how they kind of react to pressures and stuff. I'm a big fan, like Luke said, of world building and kind of establishing a setting and then kind of putting all my players into it and making things happen and forcing them to adapt on the fly and see what kind of cool stuff comes out of that.
All right. Well, that being said, is each of the campaigns that you're running going how you planned or anticipated story-wise, either of you? And if so, great. And if not, how far have we strayed from the path?
All right, so I'll start with the first one. Which is the most recent Oriole one where both of you are involved. And that so far is going relatively according to plan, but that's because you guys started a relatively high level and we're still pretty early days.
Yes.
The other Oriole campaign, on the other hand, is definitely less so. They had a goal set about 6 sessions ago that
6 or 7 or something.
Yeah, that they're only just getting to now because of other. They're not derailing. It's just different things pop up, and it's great. I love the improv that comes when my party sends me curveballs.
Yeah. More important things like the destruction of the universe. But
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of the golden rule of D&D is nothing ever happens the way you want it to. Nice. So I normally the way I'd set up my storylines is that I kind of put a bunch of breadcrumbs all over the shop and then see what happens, and then I'll have like a big kind of overarching story that ties it all together at the end. But as so far, we're still pretty early into Godov, like 10 to 15 sessions
I think we're coming on to 15.
15? Yeah, that makes sense. So
I feel like, because you've said that's like early game.
Yeah, that's still early game for me. I'm a big fan of like that. The early game is kind of, you're a lot more powerless. You're less of this kind of like world-ending, crazy, powerful mage or warrior.
You want to be struggling.
Yeah, you're a guy in a world that's harsh and you have to live, and I like that feeling. So
you want to earn those 20 levels.
That's it, right? You want to earn those levels. So I think that you guys have... I mean, I didn't expect you guys to follow a specific kind of linear storyline, but you really went out to do the thing. That's you, Ethan. We're looking at you. But it's been really cool. Like, it's been significantly more interesting than what I planned because it has happened organically, and it's been this original kind of new idea that I've both been like, oh, this is super sick, I didn't expect this, as someone who normally would have planned everything, and you guys get to kind of shape your own fate in a few ways. So I think it turned out really well. But no, we're not on track at all.
Okay. That's the answer I was looking for. Which players have surprised you in each of your campaigns so far, whether it be from like combat, role play, or like a backstory standpoint?
So, roleplay wise, it would... For my other Oriole campaign, it would be you, where you play Kalani.
Yeah?
You've definitely, because a lot of the other players are quite new,
Yeah.
you've definitely taken a lead and helped them step out of their comfort zone or come out of their shell.
Yeah.
And they've all really adapted, and you've sort of leaded the role play, and it's coming along really well. The other Oriel campaign recently, how Trish has been going with Pock, she's
Yeah.
definitely come out of her shell and actually taking a leading stance as a charisma front.
Yeah.
So,
Doing the
I'd
job.
actually have to agree. The player that plays Pock, one of the characters in Luke's campaign, also plays a character called Lalu in my campaign, and it's the same person, Patricia. She's relatively new to D&D. I think I only haven't played basically these campaigns that we've been in.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think once before, but it wasn't like
It was
a
not-
substantial.
it wasn't a serious thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would wager to say that the player behind these characters is not a super extroverted individual in their personal life. So it's been really cool to see someone who's normally less of a front person in most groups kind of come out as a kind of central. In my campaign especially, she's kind of like a glue. She kind of keeps the whole party together, which is extremely useful considering you guys have a very wide split of ethics and morals amongst you.
Oh my, do we need that glue?
Yeah, she's about the only thing stopping you guys from killing each other. So she's really great there. I also think that Ethan, you obviously with your character Demix in my campaign has done some ridiculous things, and you've had a few
Please.
Oscar-winning moments, which
Please.
we've all given you
Please.
props for. So yeah, I think the people who surprised me, yeah, probably Patricia and Ethan. That's what I'd say. With the same answer as you, actually, Luke.
Yeah.
I'll take that. And I'm sure Trish will take that too.
It also comes from you two being quite new players and
Yeah.
these being your first real campaign. So
Yeah.
it's us being impressed with how quickly you've picked it
Yeah,
up.
I mean, like I've been playing D&D for like 5 or 6 years now, and you've been playing D&D for longer, right?
No, I've only been like 3 years.
Oh, never mind.
No, yeah.
I basically started DMing before I played.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I get you. Yeah.
Luke's like newer at it, but he's like
The forever DM
really, really good.
He's really good, man.
He's really into it. Which is great because, you know, how else?
I do think your character in my campaign surprised me a lot as well with your kind of sudden turn on things. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I was a
kept
little
us in the
bit
ropes.
worried that it seemed a little bit more what I wanted to do and not what the character wanted to do, but
No,
I
I
did
thought it was
have
awesome because you
No,
kind of
it's-
had that undertone of like, you were like a really ditzy, naive character, but you had this undertone of like pretty hardcore, like power seeking, and it
Yeah.
suddenly just like turned on and went crazy. It was really cool.
It was,
No,
yeah,
I liked it.
a flip switch,
Awesome
and that
switch,
It's
yeah.
it's really
that
cool.
is what happened when it's been Ethan's character Demix that has been triggering that, because
Yeah.
in their past they're quite close friends,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
seeing Demix almost fall from grace in a way.
Yeah.
Oh, he was fallen.
I think it's really interesting how that kind of shit happens. Like you just go from
It was really cool. That's like sort of like where I'm guilty of like when I find like a character really interesting with their
Yeah.
powers, it's when they have to like suffer for it
yeah.
and shit. So
Well,
when
it's
you like start pissing off,
Those Superman characters where it's always good and they always win, it's never fun, right? Like
no,
you
I despise Superman as a character with a passion.
yeah,
It's like
a
just
Mary
it's
Sue type thing.
it's
You
the
want to have
worst.
suffering and failure. You know,
Yeah.
it builds character.
Of course. This is a fun question. What times, if any, have you gone easy on the players? Like fudging rolls, encounters, or having certain NPCs act non-homicidal? And if so, do you think it was the right call in hindsight?
So I normally only do that if players not want to be gone easy on, but if they are quite new, I don't want to just straight up murder
They're
them.
not ready to die. Yeah.
Given that I have said in both campaigns now the training wheels are off, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to have like a period where
yes,
it's like
it's nice, and because the campaign was mostly built from new players,
yeah.
Yeah.
and that is kind of what it helped with when our campaign started with Sean playing Kex, how he was a bit of a combat failsafe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys didn't die early.
Yeah, no, he absolutely was. He took care of like an encounter on his own just about at one
Yes,
point.
pretty much that 2 ogre encounter.
Yeah, two
That's
ogres.
paladins, yeah.
Yeah.
So with fudging rolls, I have only ever fudged 2 rolls, one in each campaign.
Mm.
One was on the D20, so the roll to hit, I minused it by 1, so I wouldn't straight up kill a new player's character.
Yeah.
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 The other one
That was the roper fight, right?
Yes, it was the roper
It was
fight.
the roper
with
fight?
Minia.
Ropers go crazy.
The second one was a fudge on the damage dice. I reduced it by about 10, so I didn't outright kill a sorcerer it was his first character as well.
Oh, poor
So
Mark.
it's going
Yeah.
nice on new players, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Given that, I am no longer doing that because, as I said, the training wheels are off.
Training wheels are off.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So-
Just like I put my own I'll insert myself here because I'm such a narcissist. Like very happy that you like did that at first, but I'm also happy that like you've chosen this point to take the training wheels off because I think you just think about everything way more.
Yeah, exactly. There needs to be risk to combat. You don't want to feel like gods. Like previously, it was if the combat's hard, it's just going to take longer.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's the combat's hard. There's a good chance some of us will die, and there needs to be that risk with combat because if you're in real life, put yourself into the shoes of the characters. You're going to fight a dragon.
You have to have
There's
fear.
a chance you'll die.
Yeah.
You should be scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I'm like a fighter hexblade multi, and I'm feeling pretty vulnerable at all times. So that's okay. Haydyn, go ahead.
I think I have a different stance on fudging rolls. A lot of the time, I do have some weaknesses as a DM, and that's that I'm not super up to par with my mechanics. I'm more of I do a lot of world building and flavor stuff and roleplay stuff, but I'm not super great on my dice rolling, get to the combat, get to the nitty gritty stuff. So I have to work on that. The only times that I will dice roll consciously is if I think I've messed up an encounter by making way too difficult for my party.
Yeah.
Which again does not happen very regularly because I do have a lot of faith in you guys to be able to pull victories out of your ass sometimes, which
we have, yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, oh man, I've made a personal mistake here by doing this, so I'm gonna adjust for that because this isn't quite fair. And then the other time that this is relatively recently, other time that I was being nice to a player who had done something quite stupid.
Oh my god, I didn't even think of that while writing this question. Like actually.
Quite monumentally stupid.
Yeah.
Which was, the classic D&D murder hobo character where they try and challenge a lot of people or someone they shouldn't challenge to a fight, and they obviously get their ass kicked, and that would be a moment that they would naturally die. So this character had gone into a very staunch anti-magic town with a lot of regulations and military, martial law in place, that kind of stuff, and turned into a werewolf in the middle of the town square. And then got surrounded by town guard and killed. And he was like, oh, I give up, I surrendered. Like, no, we're going to execute you. I'm like, look, I don't want to kill your character because this was the first session that character had been in play.
Yeah.
So I'm like, look, I'm going to be nice to you and allow you to retcon, take that back.
Yeah.
And we'll start from a previous point where you haven't made those decisions yet because I don't want you to die yet. But I did say that was like, this is the one time this will happen, just because I think maybe you weren't thinking straight or maybe you're just tired or something, I don't know, but this is like giving you a chance here. So that's a situation that I'd do it, but I wouldn't do it often. I wouldn't do it more than once.
I think like how you handled that was really well because you like allowed him to go down that path deep enough to like realize that he'd screwed up.
Yeah.
And then you sort of like interjected and went, listen,
I'm pretty certain he won't do that again.
I will allow you to retcon this, but in future, please think about things.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. How far do both of you go with homebrew content in each of your campaigns?
All the way, baby.
What's usually the mix of like official content and your own stuff that you like to have?
So how I obviously will start at the start with creating characters. My ruling is with a few exceptions, I will allow any official content.
Yeah.
Right.
As well as Unearthed Arcana content. If you bring it to me and let me read through it first,
yeah, of course,
then I'll probably allow that.
Okay. Yeah.
That comes with races, classes, subclasses, etc., etc.
Yep.
At the moment, I don't think we have any UA content in either of my campaigns.
Not now that Kex is gone.
Shadow Sorcerer UA?
No, Shadow Sorcerer is Xanathars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're
we
right
we previously did with
Kex was UA.
Yeah, Kex was a
because he had cantrips. Right?
Draconic Kobold from Unearthed Arcana.
Yeah.
As well as Juliana was a Warlock of the Raven Queen.
Yeah.
Right.
Arcana.
Yeah.
Which both were run by me previously and I allowed.
Yeah.
When it comes to...
Do you regret that?
I don't regret that because it's what the player wanted to do. And above all, I want everyone to have fun.
Of course, yeah.
When it comes to content in the game, most of it's homebrew. I'll take inspiration from worlds or modules.
Yeah, of course.
So a lot of my inspiration comes from games as well. So I used to be a big player of World of Warcraft. I get a lot of inspiration from that. As well as a couple of sourced adventures or sourced worlds like Eberron and Wildmount.
Yep.
But homebrew wise, I create 90% of my magic items, and basically all of my NPCs are homebrewed in a sense where I use things that are made by myself and not official content. So, for example, someone in my High Council in Oriole is a level 25 character, whereas
Nice.
in
Yeah.
D&D, typically level 20 is the max.
Yes, and that's Kilovar, right?
Yes, Lysanthia Kilovar.
Oh.
Some interesting
What a
things have
lovely guy.
transpired.
Yeah. What a lovely dude. He'll be around, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He's not gonna die.
No, he's not going to die.
No, just everyone else. Everyone else will die.
I guess my opinion is basically the same. I think we're very similar in that regard. I do have some reservations about a lot of the Unearthed Arcana. Unearthed Arcana is like unreleased, like kind of
Yeah, it's playtest content.
playtest
Yeah.
beta testing for
Hmm.
certain classes and content, and I think a lot of them are really strong.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they haven't been published officially.
Mm.
But I think my rule is still send it to me first. Let me look over it. If it's acceptable and it's not like,
Yeah.
roll a d20. If it hits from 1 to 20, you win the game type stuff. Then I'm like, oh, cool. That's fine. We can do that. As far as monsters and magic items go, all my shit's homebrew.
Nice.
I really,
Yeah.
apart from like if I see a monster in the published stuff, I'm like, I really want to use that. It's going to be stuff I've made.
Yeah.
Especially in places like Godov, my setting, which is, it's this very kind of wild, undiscovered, untamed kind of land. I want there to be weird things that my more experienced players won't see coming.
We'll still scratch their heads over.
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Like I think it's fun to be like, oh, I know what that monster is, but like it's okay. I like doing that as a player, being like, oh, I know what this is. But at the same time, it's very interesting to be like, what on earth is this thing?
Yeah.
And why am I dying?
Yeah.
Like,
I like it, yeah.
it's a sense of like refreshment, I guess. But
Mm.
both are good. But yeah, definitely magic items and stuff as well. Homebrew, apart from like the mundane stuff, like
Yeah, like Ring of Protection.
yeah,
sort
ring of
thing,
yeah.
I
Ring of
think
fire
I've thrown a
resistance.
couple
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
Apart from that, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I sort of do that less with monsters. I will use a lot of official content monsters, but I'll typically edit them myself.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing as well. Yeah.
So I'll like nerf.
You'll
or
modify
buff
the
them.
stat
Yeah, I'll
box a
modify
bit,
them.
yeah.
good to have a baseline. And then,
So one that will probably come up shortly is there has been a lot of land tainted by demons,
Abyssal Giants, Abyssal Giants, Abyssal Giants.
and there are
Fuck's
demonically
sake.
influenced giants. So that's how I edited the stat blocks.
I've been waiting for these guys.
Yeah, they've been on all your encounter rollers already so far.
Oh no, we only got
Like an Abyssal
we only got the
Giant,
dragon.
Giants, like the Storm Giants, Fire Giants.
Yes.
Awesome.
But typically it is only a handful of them because typically fire giants aren't in the snow.
Yeah.
So
What?
Be
Crazy.
bricked up when I see them demonic giants. I'm bricked.
Okay. Well, next question.
Brilliant.
Detail some of your proudest or favorite moments as a dungeon master in each of your campaigns.
all right, so I think you know the two I'm going to say, one for
Yeah.
each. So we've
Yeah.
every so the first dragon fight in every campaign is quite a cinematic moment.
Most of the
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah.
So the first one was the level 5 party
Yeah.
coming across an adult white dragon. They should not have won that fight, but
No.
because of the nature of the white dragon being animalistic and not very intelligent,
Yeah.
they played it smart, and there was a cinematic moment where Haydn's previous character, Thruma, sort of part the clouds and had a standoff with the dragon as it was flying towards the rest of the party as they were
Yeah.
cowering in the snow.
Yeah.
The other one being Guiltyr,
Yeah.
and they fought a young red dragon at
Two
level,
Goliaths versus dragons. Crazy.
level 4, I believe.
Level 4. Yeah. We were-
He got the final blow, the how do you want to do this?
Yep.
And how he did it is he stabbed through the head and then ripped out the heart.
Yeah.
Meaty.
Yeah.
Some Conan stuff right there.
Yeah, so-
Actually, yeah.
Awesome.
It just gives you a really clear visual and a really
Yeah.
cinematic visual.
Nice. Yeah.
It's that kind of pure triumphant feeling of defeating someone that should have killed you. You know,
Yeah.
like coming out when you should not have come out.
Yeah.
It's especially with Goliaths as well, because in my world historically, giant can have a vendetta against the chromatic dragons. so the
Huge
red
beef
and
with
the white.
dragons. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really sick. Both of those moments. My moment was less.
Those moments. One of them you weren't there for.
Yeah, I've heard lots about it. But my campaign has had less, at least at the moment, less kind of I wouldn't say like there hasn't been any like really close combat encounters, but
Mm.
I guess has been less of a sense of like scale so far. It's still kind of like small time.
Yeah.
I would say my top moments that I've been really proud of personally was when Demix was losing his mind in the woods and you roleplayed into him having a full psychotic break, which was awesome because it makes total sense. I mean, you know, Demix's character basically had been possessed by this nightmare deity, and they had a battle where he was taken over and they fought against Demix's body being possessed by this creature. And they thought that they won, but Demix kind of had this feeling deep down inside that he wasn't free of it yet, and he was completely right, he wasn't. He never really broke free. The creatures wanted him to think that. And so there was this moment when they're in this magically enhanced forest with the fae folk, the fairies, and they kind of feed off of emotions, positive or negative, and they kind of amplify that. And so he was paranoid and he was having a really difficult time coping with these issues, and these kind of emotions seeped out from him and corrupted the woods around him and made things very difficult for the party. But it was really interesting to see like Ethan go full on into like acting things out, like this isn't my body, these aren't my hands, you know. He's just staring at himself and he's shaking and breaking down. Everyone else is like, what are you doing, man? And he's like, no one understands that this guy is having a full mental break. And then the other moment would be when they finally did defeat that creature, that nightmare entity. They one of the characters picked up a sword of some significance to Demix's character and ran it through this like demon body, and it like broke apart and corrupted the sword, and it was this huge kind of moment in this.
I am so glad that happened.
It was really awesome.
Like in character, I was in and out of character. I was like, thank
God
that happened.
It was really awesome. It was an awesome moment. And I gave Ethan control over the possessed form and like let him kind of wreak havoc a little, and it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happened after that. But yeah, that'd be my two most proud moments, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's about where I would say, like, as well as like a player, where I just like I remember existing in those moments and going, this is something. This is definitely. I couldn't do this by myself, so I was glad that everyone was there with me. All right. With that being said, I think you both like agreed. But what's a favorite moment that you had in each other's campaigns?
So not in the campaigns we DM'd? So
Luke, what did you enjoy in Godov, and Haydyn, what did you enjoy in Oriole / Etheron?
Yeah.
So this comes from a little bit of personal bias because
That's the point of the question.
Really like my character Mira.
Yeah, of course.
Naturally.
We all like Mira.
The previous week I'd asked Haydyn if I can multi-class into cleric, and his ruling is if you find something in the world, then you have to actually actively seek out what you want to do. So I want to find some sort of deity to create a bond with, essentially.
Yeah.
And the next session we
Coincidentally,
it
wasn't even planned. You just went to the right place.
We went to the place, almost like a corrupted land of a death god.
Ooh.
Or a death demigod, sorry.
Yeah. It's no big deal. Just a demigod. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sure.
And this is what sort of brought through Mira's hunger for power, and basically taking a legendary artifact that it sort of had drawbacks on myself and hurt myself as a character to gain more power. So that's
very cool.
Yeah. Which is the way to do power.
So
make the character suffer.
Yeah.
If they want to get new power, make them suffer for it.
So while everyone else went chasing after Demix, Mira went back to gain more power and have a face-to-face with the demigod.
Oh.
Jakari.
That's so cute. Making new friends. Ditching your old homies, I get it.
Getting forced into soul packs. Just the usual Saturday.
No, it's okay. Cleric levels, bro.
Yeah.
Think about it.
That was really cool, though. I really liked how you kind of like just went straight for it. You snuck back when everyone else went to bed. That was awesome. Yeah. For me, it's hard not to say the White Dragon fight because the White Dragon fight was fucking crazy.
That was your moment.
Yeah, it was everyone's moment. I think it was really cool that we all kind of bended up, but just, I guess, once again, the bias is hard. If it's your own character, you kind of feel pretty fucking sweet when something cool happens.
When you have your cinematic moment.
This whole character, Thruma, was like a Thor type, really into storms and lightning and stuff, and he has a spell where he can basically make a storm and make it lightning bolt people. But it has an interesting caveat in that spell where if you're already in some kind of heavy weather or storm, you gain control over it. So we'd been ambushed by this white dragon, which are these snow dragons, and there's this big blizzard around us, and we're running for our lives because we can't see anything, it's freezing, and it knows where we are, but we don't know where it is, which is a terrifying thing to have when you're fighting a giant dragon.
Yeah.
And then I kind of had this click moment where I'm like, this is a storm. Like, storms are my thing. You're in my territory. And I wrested control of that storm, and I split it open like the Red Sea. And then the dragon was right there, revealed, and it looked terrified for a second. And I just blasted it with lightning.
Yeah.
that came out of its own storm and stuff. And that was a really awesome moment for me where it's like, this is my domain. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
You're trespassing on my power here.
Yeah.
And that, to me, felt awesome because it just felt like I just turned the tables. So that was a cool moment for me, but... Again, it's my own character. It's shitty, be like, it's me. I had the
No. That's what we're asking for. I agree, because that's what I got from that moment. It was like a real, like, oh, we're not, like, running from a white dragon right now. This white dragon is trapped in a battle with Thruma.
I'm not trapped with you. Yeah.
Okay, so...
Pretty sure we killed that dragon before it hit the ground, right?
No, it hit the ground and got one multi-attack off.
Yeah.
So it was about 18 seconds, I believe.
Yeah. Something
So
ridiculous
3
like that.
yeah.
The How Do You Want to Do This came so quick, but I was
And
happy about it.
disappointed.
Yeah.
But I was proud of you guys, so.
Oh, I was proud of us. I think I did like 20 damage total, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's nothing new for your old character.
How often do both of you like to have combat happen on average? Would you prefer that the party is more focused around roleplay, or is it like a 50-50 split?
So, if I had to put a split to it, I like combat 2 out of 3 sessions.
Nice.
But for me, combat should come when it feels like it should come.
Naturally, yeah. You don't want to force combat.
How I do, so say if you're on the road, there's obviously things walking by. There's giants, there's kegs, there's various different sorts of things. So what I do is they have an encounter table that they roll on, and it's basically a random encounter thing. So I have a couple of different combat things on that, so there's might be a 20% chance they get combat. But it'll come when naturally. There's also various other things, so they could come across some ruins, or they could...
Or the Demon Lord grizzled in a circle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
We'll let him out, obviously.
Oh, he was already out.
Oh, okay, good. That takes the blame off my shoulders. As far as I go, I'm... maybe it's a byproduct of the fact that I'm not super good with my mechanics yet, or maybe it's more the fact that I'm just really into storytelling as a non-competitive thing, but I definitely think I do combat not super often. And when I do make it happen, I try and make it quite meaningful, or at least have a pretty big impact.
Yeah.
So I will do like maybe some minor stuff, like, you know, some guys try and shake you down for money, and you obviously beat them because you're quite powerful. But then when you come across a situation where you have an actual combat setting, it's something that you're like not prepared for, and it has significance to the story. So I think I'd probably do combat. If it's a split between like story combat, like 70% story, 30% combat.
Yeah.
Maybe 80-20 even.
I put it at like 70-30.
70-30? Yeah. So that's kind of the split that I like to think of that. And then when I want my combat to happen, I want it to be this big, grand event where it means a lot and it's terrifying and it really kind of shakes you to your core. So
yeah.
Like, I'll chuck a dungeon in, and it's not called Towns and Dragons. You'll put one every now and then,
Towns and Dragons.
Keep it fun. There's got to be at least one dungeon and one dragon in every campaign.
That'll still be fun. Towns are fun.
Towns are fun. So,
when you're not turning into a werewolf in the middle of one.
You get killed. Put me in chains, man. I like political intrigue and stuff a little more, though. So it's kind of the angle I lean towards, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Maybe I was being lazy. But that's how I like to play.
I like it.
It's different ways to run a campaign. Because I obviously prefer running a high fantasy sort of campaign.
Yeah. I'm just happy for the variety, honestly.
I'm just happy to be here, man.
I'm happy to be here on this day. I'd like to thank the troops. Okay. Yeah, what sort of playing do each of you tend to reward in each of your campaigns? Like, what makes you tick as a DM? Like, what's something that the player can do to, make it feel worth it?
I'll go my answer immediately.
So, for me, it's... I like to scatter things across the world and making, like, ballsy moves.
Yeah.
Or, something that you probably shouldn't do. I'm obviously going to reward you with that.
Yeah.
I go into the crypt.
Like multi-classing
Yeah.
into Blood Hunter as a sorcerer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ballsy.
Yeah, no, but,
Which has paid off so far for Mark, by the way.
Yeah. Like, there was... So, as I said, previous question with the encounter rollers, I like to put something pretty epic on that, but I don't like to spoon-feed my party power.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I gave my party a weapon last time. At the moment, it's just a mundane greatsword.
It's just a mundane greatsword.
At the moment.
That does acid damage if you try and, put anything into it.
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
But I have currently... They went to the lair of an ancient copper dragon, which I obviously homebrewed a little bit, so they didn't get trapped.
Stun-locked forever.
Yeah.
Eternity, yeah.
Yeah, but because of one player's relationship with the metallic dragons, they actually built a friendship, and they got 2 items out of it, which are currently... They are relics of thousands of years ago, but they are currently dormant and they need repairing, so I'm not spoon-feeding them legendary items at level 5.
Hey, this is cool, but work for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying this will make you feel like a god, but you need to put in the work for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to reward my players.
I like it as well, because, like, it doesn't feel fetch questy.
Yeah.
Even though, like, it is. Like, especially when you go, you activate this by fighting meeting every giant and fighting every dragon.
Yeah.
It just feels like, especially since it's a thing that we have to, keep hidden, because walking around with a dormant relic.
It's pretty big of a
Yeah,
deal,
people are going to go, all right, okay.
We should rob this guy.
Yeah.
We should rob him and all of his family.
Yeah.
Yes, but then that comes with, if you go to fight an ancient red dragon at level
You'll just
5,
die.
Yeah.
you're going to die in 6
Yeah.
seconds. So it's meant to be
Yeah.
a progression over the
Yeah.
levels, and eventually maybe like
A nice goal.
upwards of level 10, you might actually complete it.
Might actually,
Or
yeah.
repair it, yeah.
We've been lucky with dragons so far.
So far, you've only come across, what, 4? Maybe?
Yeah. You've only fudged one roll.
Come on. As far as I go for like rewarding cool stuff, for me it's I like putting tiny little tidbits of information and backstory and lore and intrigue, and if people can piece it together, that's where most of my rewards lie.
Nice.
So there are obviously stuff like, kill this big bad guy, get his cool sword. That kind of stuff does definitely exist. But I can get off, spoiler alert, most of the legendary artifacts that I have are completed by doing certain storylines.
Yeah.
So it's not just killing something like there are weapons. One weapon you saw quite recently, actually.
Yeah.
In a flash for a little bit.
Yeah.
That is an exceptionally powerful weapon.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you don't get it by killing anything. You have to. There are clues. Some you have found. No, not yet. You haven't found any clues to it yet. But some you will find soon, and some that you will not find for a while. And if you manage to piece them together, like a great riddle, you might uncover its location or how to get it or what to do. And that's how I like to do it, because I don't like. There will obviously be good stuff that you'll find by killing difficult things, because obviously killing something hard deserves reward.
Yeah.
But the really great stuff, I want you to have this kind of zing moment where all these pieces come together, and that's what I want to kind of make happen.
Yeah. No, it's happened a couple times, and it's definitely, rewarding.
I love watching you guys as all your faces
react.
light up, where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that means this.
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah.
gets
I think that for me was like solving the riddle in like 5
Dude,
seconds.
5 seconds. I gave you that riddle and you're like, it's the heart. I'm like, you mother. You just got it. I'm like, oh. I remember saying it and being like, oh, this is too vague. They're not going to get it. Like, I messed up. Should I be nice to them? And then you're the first actual solution was the right one. I'm like, oh, never mind.
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
on.
It's okay. It's all right. I was still happy to, have a riddle. It's just, first guess lucky, I guess. How much are each of you, rather, inspired by mainstream big budget D&D productions like Critical Role, Dimension 20, that sort of thing?
So, you know that I'm a long-time fan of
Yeah,
Critical Role.
yeah.
I
Those
have...
pop vinyls over there.
I only have 4 of them, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've struggled to get into like Dimension 20 or High Rollers or anything along those lines.
Mm.
But Critical Role, I get a lot of my inspiration from Critical Role. I would put it maybe like 30%.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Because it's obviously split with a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it's probably the biggest portion. I get, as opposed to from the storyline, I have all of their modules and I actually look through the world and get inspiration from that.
Cool. Yeah.
So the Explorer's Guide to Wild Map module, it actually has for each area different level possible quests you can do, and I go through them and look for what sort of things I get inspiration for. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't like. I've watched like maybe 10, 20 episodes total of Critical Role ever.
You have? I didn't think you had.
I did, and this was over like 3 years. I never really got into it.
Okay.
It's like I found it enjoyable, but I didn't really like. I like some long form content, but not a lot, and I don't want to like sit down.
I get
and
it.
watch
It's a
3
commitment.
hours a week
Yeah.
of stuff. You know, like I like it's really cool, and they're obviously really great actors and stuff, and the voice acting is incredible, and the story's great, and it's like it's the D&D. You know, like
Yeah.
if you ever to think of the perfect D&D game, it's Critical Role. It's incredible, but I never really got super into it. I got all the good stuff told to me by Sean, and I'm like, this is enough.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it.
I got the best moments. But I draw my inspiration from other things, like a lot of books, video games. I'm a bit of a nerd for philosophy, so I like putting in that kind of stuff.
Oh, I love that shit.
Even if somewhat unsuccessfully, I do try and put in some.
I love that shit.
And a big one for me, this is kind of like one of my bigger ones, especially for Godot, because I wanted that like messed up, kind of really dark, haunted, kind of grim world. I got a lot of SCP Foundation stuff. Which is, for those who don't know, it's basically just like this imaginary foundation that deals with like just a variety of messed up creatures and situations, and that to me is awesome.
That's still the coolest thing ever. Like the SCP like origin story,
Yeah.
where it's just someone went on 4chan and posted like a fake lab report.
And everyone went crazy.
Oh, that's so
it's
cool.
awesome. It's a giant phenomenon now, and I think there's just so many interesting things, and they're like, I don't know. And some of them get really out of the box.
Oh yeah,
Some
yeah.
of them are like, this guy, it's a fridge that makes whatever drink you want. Oh, cool. One of them's like, this is the ontological theory behind chaos theory. It's like, oh, okay. I kind of jumped a little.
This is decay incarnate.
This is literally
Yeah.
Descartes. I'm like, okay, this is actually Kantian philosophy. So I get into that stuff quite a bit. I like making things that are really long-winded and somewhat convoluted.
It's cool. Well, since you're both aware, at least, of like stuff like Critical Role and Dimension 20, and you've both like consumed a fair bit of content, like even 10 to 20,
I've tasted
10 to 20 episodes is still like you're pushing like what 50 hours of Critical Role.
Jesus.
Whipped the bouquet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've taken away.
Do you feel tempted to produce like a similar experience to those productions, due to like some of the players being like fans of or like aware of that content?
So one of my long-term goals is, whether it's obviously probably not going to be official, but I want to create a source book for my world.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Awesome.
So I would love to try the podcast streaming sometime, but
Yeah.
I'm content with having a home game.
Just
And
like just some official content that's yours.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've put hundreds of hours into my world currently.
Okay.
And it's still not even half built. So.
Yeah. So is like, but is the Critical Role like where you set the benchmark though for like your own stuff, or is that sort of like where you have your comparison stuff, like when like an arc happens or a big moment?
I take it into consideration and play with what feels natural.
Yeah.
So
Were you asking if we wanted to like emulate Critical Role, like as in have like a streaming thing?
Yeah. No, not like a streaming thing, just
Alright.
like a similar sort of experience.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I think anyone who plays D&D would want to have a similar experience at Critical Role.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like so well done.
Yeah. Like a goal as well, and also more of like maybe a pressure on yourself, because like you're aware that like
Yeah.
everyone is sort of like experienced, as you said before, like the truest form of D&D.
Yeah, being a DM does come with pressures. It's kind of part of the job. I mean, you do have to kind of juggle a variety of storylines and people what they want and what they want to end up and stuff. And if some players want more combat and some players want less combat and more story, so you have to kind of juggle that around as well. There is pressures on there, but I think if you try too hard to emulate Critical Role, like, you're going to fail either way because you're not Matt Mercer.
Yeah.
So I think it's best that you kind of like take pointers from like Critical Role and like, oh, this is a great way to run a campaign, this is a great thing to add in, a great way to treat my players, or like, create certain experiences, but don't be like, oh, I gotta be perfect.
Yeah.
You'll just do more damage to yourself and you'll do any good. So
You'll just make a worse Critical Role, and you're obviously going to screw it up.
you'll just make a worse Critical Role. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's like, welcome to Wildemount, where you fight Beckner.
Welcome to Maldore.
It's gonna go bad.
So would you recommend that new players, even going as far to like they've not even cracked their first session, to watch those sorts of productions as a means to sort of have the experience of like playing D&D, watching roleplay happen outside of their own games? Or do you think it's like maybe sets their expectations a bit high?
So, a little bit of backstory with me.
Okay.
I had played one proper session of D&D ever, where that was the only session that campaign I played.
Nice.
After that, I watched about 100 episodes of Crit Role before I played another session.
Man.
Or another... Yeah, and that was when I picked up back with DMing. Because I love Matt Mercer's DM style.
He is great.
And I'm struggling to try and to not emulate it.
Yeah.
Because I obviously do think Matt Mercer is the face of the perfect DM.
Oh yeah.
No, totally.
And I think it's a good idea to, if you want to get into roleplay or you already like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
To start watching Crit Role, but the best way is to get a group of friends and start playing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. You got to get into it.
It's hard to get into it. A lot of people I've talked to have said they want to get into it, but they just don't know anybody.
Yep.
So it's good to know people who are already
Find
into
people.
it. Yeah.
It's getting more mainstream. Find people.
Go to Netherworld. Talk to anyone there. Find a party.
Go outside.
I think
no, it's hard.
Vault Games in the city run.
Vault Games, yeah.
They run game nights.
Although, you do hear a lot of horror stories about like those publicly run ones.
I'm pretty sure that's where like all the horror stories come from. Yeah.
At least 95%.
Yeah. A lot of them. How R-rated can we get on this? I'm gonna ask you now. I know we've like a few swear words.
It's going on YouTube, so like it won't be for kids.
Gonna
but
get demonetized.
Oh no, money that I'm making.
I was gonna say, and if this is bad, you can edit it out.
Okay.
Footnote.
Yeah, that's all right.
But
I'll keep it for myself. But
yeah.
Just to, cancel you later.
Critical Role's like porn, right?
Yeah.
If you watch it and you don't have any other experience of it, and you think that's how it actually is all the time,
that's a good analogy.
You're going to have a really shit time.
Yeah.
Because you're going to go into it going, this is nothing like the simulations. You know? But if you go into it and be like, oh, this is like, I guess, a very extreme version.
Idealized version.
Like an idealized, but also a very unrealistic version of what it's going to be like. Because these are all professional voice actors who all have a script when they play.
Huge budget.
Giant fucking budget. You're in this underground dungeon with like 3D battle maps and all this. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
No.
So if you look at that and go, oh, this is incredible, Critical Role, so good, I'd like to play the same game they're playing, but I don't want to. Like, this isn't going to be the same way, then it's a great thing. Because I think it gets you introduced to things. It also kind of sets the tone for you a little bit. It's a very emotional game, and you have to kind of be... You have to characterize yourself, and you have to be someone who you're not in real life. And that's a very difficult thing for most new players, is a lot of them are like... They kind of separate themselves from their player. Like, oh, my player goes over here and does this. My player makes an attack roll. You have to kind of become that player. You have to be like, I am... Through I am Mirror, I am Demix, I do this, I feel this way. And you will feel those emotions yourself some of the time. So yeah, Critical Role is great because it kind of gets you in that mindset. But you have to realize it's not always going to be that way.
Yeah.
That's why Critical Role is so good though, because all the players are voice actors and they're already experienced.
Everyone's a professional.
Super good.
Yeah.
Like they are the biggest names in their industry, basically.
Oh yeah.
Just about there, especially now.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole like Kickstarter thing, right? Where they raise like, oh, give us like $1 million and we'll
they
make a
did,
thing. It's like, here's
TV
$22 million. Yeah, everyone
Oh, it was
loves them.
insane. Yeah, I don't
People
know. I don't know where the rest of that
obsessed.
money is gone. Probably season 2 or something.
Yeah, and
Yep.
plus they have the highest subscriber profit or something from Twitch, I think.
Yeah, they were at the top of that leaked
did Not
list.
surprise me.
Yeah. That was cool though. That was a fun week when everyone was like referring to
It's-
each other as like their number on the profit list.
I think it was interesting. I think it's been really interesting that Critical Role was basically the sole factor in D&D becoming mainstream. Because
Yeah.
for a long time, since like the 80s,
Yeah.
D&D has been like your basement nerd level shit. Like
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah, like your neckbeard.
like
Yeah.
you don't tell your friends you play D&D.
No, no, I remember.
It's
Yeah,
huge. And
Yeah.
I meet lots of random people who are like, I'm such a dice goblin. I play D&D. I'm like, how long have you been playing for? They're like, a year or two, right? Like everyone's pretty fresh to it.
yeah, yeah. I think Critical Role is like a big one there, but also like so many people jumped on 5th edition.
Oh yeah,
Like, it's
5e is the
ridiculous,
most
yeah.
user friendly by far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So user friendly. So friendly to beginners and people who don't have to worry about like doing small time calculus for all their character sheets. Yeah.
I've heard some horror stories from 3.5.
I'm a meathead, man. I couldn't do that stuff.
Maths in my roleplay. Get out.
Barbarian and rip someone in half.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only dividing I want to do is his skull. God damn it.
God damn.
All right, we're sort of winding down now. Last 2 questions. First one. What's one piece of advice you could each give to aspiring new dungeon masters?
Just start.
Yeah.
Get a shell of a world and just start. The easiest way to build your world or start getting a vision is
Put players in there.
put players in the
Yeah.
world. If you over prepare, things aren't going to go right. You're going to get stressed out, and it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was gonna say like you make the skeleton, but the players and the muscles they move those bones around. Like you
Nice.
put down stuff like, this is where you are. This is the town you're in, of the city you're in, of the country, of the state, whatever. This stuff exists. Go nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll
Like-
do half the world building for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I had created when I started you guys in Etheron. I'd created 1 town and 2 cities.
You had to. Yeah.
And all I'd done for prep for the first session is create plot hooks and a couple of big NPCs.
One
Yeah.
note that says naked goblin ? Goes from there.
No,
Listen,
it's,
Journey of 1,000 Miles,
That's
okay?
it.
Naked Drow from session 1.
Naked Drow. Naked Drow. Oh, no. Yeah, no, because I think it just works better for, like, players as well if you do that.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, the huge, like, aha moments that I've had is when you've brought information up in, like, both campaigns that have pertained to, like, one line in my backstory.
Yeah.
And you've and you've gone, oh, you know, he's named that because I made like something was like a folk tale. So I went, oh yeah, he took
Yeah.
this name because it's a popular thing in the Feywild. And I like for a whole minute I was like, nah, I'm important. I'm real. I'm real.
It's also with getting your players' backstory, so they will help you.
Of course,
build
yeah.
stories.
That's why like, just let them do it.
Yeah.
Don't like. I remember I've spoken to a couple people that go, I give them the character sheet and stuff. I have like people can choose from a set made of characters with set
horrible.
backstories.
I hate that.
It's just like do it how you want to do it, but it's
Unless
the
it's a
worst
one-shot or
idea.
something.
Yeah,
I
I
did
hate
that for a
that.
one shot once, and it was still a bit.
yeah,
I know I just said like make a skeleton and then let everything else grow around it, but I also want to give a completely contradictory piece of advice, which is do not rush into DMing.
No.
yeah.
Like if you're like, oh, I'm not, like, you need to know whatever it is you make of your world, even if it's just the barebone stuff and you let the story kind of happen to the world. You need to know that world inside out. You need to know who the key players are, the key factions. You need to know what's going on, the timeline, the deities, the planes, all these things. Because if you don't know and you jump in and you have to make adjustments on the fly, you'll fuck stuff up. You will.
Yeah.
There'll be no continuity.
Yeah, inconsistencies everywhere. So that, like, I've done that before where I jumped into a campaign with a week's notice and it was terrible. Like, I had to just keep retconning previous stuff and it was no good.
Yeah.
And there was so many
Which just
drops.
means that, like, you know, it feels like your world doesn't have consequence or...
It makes it very difficult to become engaged, and you want your
Yeah.
players to be engaged. So
course.
if you don't make something where you have to give them a constant and make that constant really cool, you can have stuff hidden from them and stuff, totally, but give them, you have to make sure it's consistent. and they're going to fall in love with that, and that's going to make it,
Keep them coming back.
yeah, that's going to get that snowball rolling. It's good.
Okay. Last question. Same one. Just what advice would you give to new players?
So, start with building your character.
Yeah.
Play a character, not a build.
Yes.
So,
Amen.
So my
Huge.
character Mira, so when we were told about the world of Godov, we were told it's a low magic setting. You're basically going to get shot on sight for magic.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Gulag.
I love full casters in D&D.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to play some sort of trickstery magician that hides their magic. So
Yeah.
I went through all the official content, and I found a subclass that worked well for that. So
Yeah.
with the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, so I'm a lot of like I'm telepathic basically.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I can cast my spells with no visual or
Yeah.
no
Everything
verbal or
happens
somatic.
subtly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really good at hiding my magic.
Yeah.
They're really subtle spells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which helps with not being shot on sight. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Kind of helps.
It also helps I don't turn into a werewolf in the middle of
Yeah. I don't know. It's like every other people with magic made them illusion based or trickstery.
Yeah, but make it off a character concept, not a build. Some people like to get inspiration from shows or
Yeah.
different things, but then
I am so guilty of that.
have an idea
We
and
all
a
are.
vision, and then go through all the content, look for what fits, and
Yeah.
then optimize it.
Yeah.
That's like when I was getting Emma into her first campaign. Emma's my partner who hadn't played before very, very recently.
Mm.
And she's kind of classic. I like animals and fairies. And I'm like, yeah, okay. She's like, I want to play someone who can have a pet. I'm like, boom, you're playing a ranger. You're playing a Beastmaster Ranger. You have a pet fight with you. Awesome. So that sounds awesome. And I'm like, there's all kinds of different magical creatures like the Fae, and I'm a big fan of the Fae in actual folklore because my family's Irish and I love that shit. And I was telling her about that.
Fae IRL.
Yeah, genuine Fae. And she was like, oh, the Fae sound really cool. They're Fae in D&D. I'm like, you bet your ass they're a Fae in D&D. She's like, I want to be a Fae-themed archer with a bear. I'm like, that's super
That's
easy.
a ranger,
We
yeah.
can do that. That is so... And, you have your idea that you want to play. You just translate that into,
Yeah.
mechanical D&D stuff. And that's it. Then you're good. Because if you go, I want to play someone who does lots of damage. You go, okay, well, there's a lot of that. What kind of damage do you want to do?
Yeah.
And do you want to be a glass cannon or a sustained damage?
Yeah.
And I just want to be really cool and have all the cool moments and do all the damage.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, then your character outside of combat roles doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
You're like a sword that floats around and hits things.
Actually, yeah. You
And it gets-
theoretically have a character.
Yeah, it's fun in combat to get those, you hit the big numbers and you go, wow, everyone goes, oh, and you get lots of, kill shots and it's awesome. But then for most of the campaign, you're just this kind of husk of a person
Waiting for the next combat.
waiting to hit
Yeah.
something. It's like, oh man, you really have to engage a little more with that. So yeah, I think Luke was dead on.
Yeah.
New advice is just find something that you like. There's always people have a playstyle and things like everyone. Any video game you play, maybe you like the tanky characters that are big and slow but don't die. Maybe you like the fast ones that can evade damage and do
Yeah.
lots of cool stuff. Find something you like, double down on it, translate that to D&D, and just start doing it.
Yeah.
There's also a trap that new players do is they go through D&D Beyond or Wikidot and they'll just look at all the classes and subclasses and they'll say, I want to play that
That
one.
one, yeah.
And when doing that, I've done that before
I fell
and
for that.
I found it impossible to write an actual decent backstory. Because I was trying to build the backstory off
Around
a build
the-
as
yeah.
opposed
Off
to
the
a
build?
character.
Yeah. Yeah.
My other piece of advice for new players would be this is a really crap piece of advice because it's
I'm
honestly,
so glad you're sharing it then.
yeah, shut up. But it's really don't be afraid to go go bigger rather than small. If you
Yes.
want to do big emotional moments with your characters, do it, man. Go all the way out because it's so much better than a party of borderline sociopathic nobodies who don't like each other. Go crazy. If your character's gonna be this super emotional wreck, do it, man. Go all the way out. If you're gonna have psychotic breaks in Fey forests, just do it.
Can you imagine?
Because there's no fun in a character who's quiet and calm the entire time.
No.
Unless there's some reason for it, and that's really interesting. It's oh, there's a giant shadow dragon. I get ready for combat. No, you're shitting yourself. Like, you gotta be that character. So it's like go all out.
Give them like a fear or a phobia or
I think every character should have at least one flaw.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, dude,
Should be something that really plays.
Give them flaws.
Don't be like, oh, fear of heights. No, it'd be like, no, I have a crippling fear of being left alone, and this means that all my I'm terrified of leaving my party's side, and then I have to like try and impress them, and that ends up having its downsides as well, and you get to hash that out in game. It's awesome.
Your flaws should actually have an effect in game. That
Just like other people.
Actually, yeah. And if you're like afraid of like playing into your flaws, like might impact the party, do it. Do it.
We all want you to do it.
Everyone should have a flaw. Everyone should not be beneficial to the party at some point.
Yeah.
The point is you've like made that foundation of a relationship.
Yeah.
That they will forgive you for it.
Yeah.
If you're an asshole all the time, no one cares about you.
It's like if you think about like soldiers and stuff in the real world, they have to know one another completely.
Yeah.
To be in those situations.
Yeah.
If you're an adventurer in a D&D world, you are not in a good line of work. You don't go and hunt giants.
There's no
for
union.
Fun. There's no union pay here, man. So you got to have a reason for it, and you have to be prepared to accept all of your party, flaws and all, to move with them and survive in these horrible lands. So yeah, totally, man. Make flaws. Make fucked up flaws too. Don't be like,
make them really stupid.
Don't be like, I'm not a huge fan of jazz music.
Yeah.
Make it like,
Also, like, flaws mechanically, too. Flaws mechanically, please have a negative stat.
Yeah.
Please.
Not everyone's a genius at everything. You're not a Mary Sue. Maybe you're incredibly strong and powerful.
You're not an anime pro tag. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe you're this wise intellectual who's spent their whole years, traveling and learning all they can, but they just cannot speak to women. Figure something out. It'll be hilarious. It'll be interesting.
That will also help you get into being your character as opposed to being a player in the game.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, completely.
All right. Well, I think that's enough questions. I got a lot of insight there. I'm sure the audience appreciates the insight into each of your D&D experiences. Thanks to both of you for making the time to share your Dungeon Master wisdom. That coveted Dungeon Master wisdom.
Yeah, I'm going to charge for this.
Need a tribute, thanks. Terradize next session.
Yeah, find them on Fiverr. They'll talk to you for a prize. If you enjoy what we covered in this podcast, if you yourself are or know any new players getting into D&D, you can check out my YouTube video detailing 8 tips and tricks for new players of D&D. It'll be put in the description. I've been your host. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for listening.
See ya.
See ya.